All right, 6.2 is our last lesson of the week. Again, in this class, you will have a test tomorrow on this. Again, if you're at home, make sure you're emailing me to get those passwords so you can take those tests on time, because all I'm going to do is put a 0 in the book, and it's up to you to make those up. And the longer you take to make them up, the more you start stacking quizzes up, the more you have to remember when you actually take the quiz. So make sure you're doing your job if you're at home to email for this information. But yesterday we reviewed one-step equations. Hopefully you use those time to bring back the basics. But again, what we learned was that negative 35.1 was with x. So we add 35.1 to both sides. We then do 43.2 plus 35.1 equals 78.3. And that was that. On the next one, negative 23 equals x over 33.2. That's divided by 3.2. So we had to practice doing times 3.2. So we do negative 23 times 3.2, which is negative 73.6 equals x. And that was it. So again, one-step equations was reviewed yesterday because we should pretty much have a pretty good idea on one-step equations at this point. 5.4x equals negative 70.2. So again, what we did here, this is 5.4 times x. So we divided by 5.4 on both sides. Bringing down x and seeing what negative 70.2 divided by 5.4 is, which is negative 13. And then we saw a problem like this where it's plus 47.8, so we're going to subtract 47.8. Therefore, doing negative 23.5 minus 47.8, which gives us negative 71.3. Again, x comes down on that side, negative 71.3 on that side, and that's that. All right. So that was yesterday, and that was pretty much a review of your one-step equations. So today what we're going to do is review our two-step equations, because when we did our work last quarter, we actually did two-step equations. So we're going to review that, and yes, we are going to throw decimals in there. The main thing, though, is to remember that we typically move the added or subtracted number first. So as long as you remember that, it shouldn't be that bad to bring it back to the surface. Plus, we have been working on these in class again for the last few weeks. So when you see 4x plus 17 equals negative 43, hopefully you know you're supposed to move the 17 first by subtracting 17. You then bring down the 4x because that's still there, and then you got to figure out what negative 43 minus 17 is, the way we did before, which is negative 60. From there, in order to move that 4, because it's 4 times x, we divide by 4. X therefore equals negative 15, because I know that 60 divided by 4 is 15, and I know the rules on multiplication and division are the same. Signs are different means it's going to be negative. So that's that. Negative 125 equals 7x minus 6. Again, first thing we got to do is recognize x is over here. The first number we want to move is typically the added or subtracted value, except for that one problem that I do in class. Negative 125 plus 6 gives us negative 119. That's 7 times x, which means we want to divide by 7, which is negative 17 for my answer. So again, it's not that bad. You just got to make sure you practice. You just got to make sure you take it seriously. Again, this test is not so much about how smart you are. It's more about how willing you are to actually practice what you're supposed to do. And at some point, you just got to realize that there's no getting around it. You just actually have to practice it. And once you get to that point, I think you'll be fine. 12.3x plus 7.1 equals 80.9. So what? We have decimals. You're going to still move that number. So all you have to do is make that number negative. So minus 7.1 minus 7.1. Bring down exactly what's over here. So 12.3x equals, and then type it in. So 80.9 minus 7.1 is 73.8. I'm assuming the answer is going to be 6, but we'll see. From there, that's 12.3 times x, so we're going to divide by 12.3. X comes down. 73.8 divided by 12.3. 12.3, which is 6. I typed it in wrong the first time. So again, all you gotta do is make sure you just take your time. As long as you've been working with the calculators, you should be decent at it at this point. Otherwise, like I said, it means you haven't really been using it, which means it's time to start practicing. Again, it doesn't come down to intelligence. It comes down to whether you practice what you're supposed to do. Negative 22.3 equals 4.7x minus 8.2. In this case, we are going to add the 8.2 first. So we type negative 22.3 plus 8.2, which is negative 14.1, equals 4.7x. Now we want to divide by 4.7. And again, all you have to do is take your calculator and type it in. Negative 14.1 divided by 4.7 equals negative 3. And that's it. All right, so for the most part, that's all that you got to worry about doing. There's really nothing else to talk about. Again, make sure you're using your time or taking your time while working to understand that this is your only day to review two-step equations, and it's the only material that's going to be on your test or your quiz tomorrow. So the key thing to know about your quiz on tomorrow is that it's pretty much a review of stuff that you did last quarter. So if you were up to speed last quarter, it shouldn't be that bad. If you weren't up to speed last quarter, I hope that you work hard to master it, because again, your quiz is coming up pretty soon. So ask for help as you need it. Again, email me if you're at home, but you need to make sure you're working on this stuff. Outside of that, take care, and I'll talk to you later.